Forensic laboratory.
Laboratory. Didi, what are you doing in my laboratory?
I believe this is it. Dr. says laboratory.
What are you doing?
The chemicals smell really... Wow, I read that word. Really assaults the nose. There's plenty to assault the eyes in here, too.
It's a type of smelly smell. Well, it looks as though the doctor isn't here. We're here now, so we might as well do some sightseeing, don't you think?
What a seasoned tourist you become, Mrs. Adder. We could just have a little look around, being careful not to upset any restless souls.
Wink. Look at that skeleton.
Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liquors or something. Or like the pickled umeboshi plums we make back home.
Father had jars like that in his laboratory as well. I expect they're human organs in preserving solution. Probably as examples of some rare medical condition.
Mrs. Adder, there are some things in this world that it's perfectly fine never to know about. Ever.
Oh.
So as I said, I'm sure they're fruit liquors or umeboshi, aren't they?
Of course.
A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, all looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing?
It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. Seeing the large tome that opens on the desk does make me wonder, though. How can anybody concentrate on bookwork with this acrid odor of chemicals in the air?
You either have to have a cast iron constitution, or a really terrible sense of smell. Look at all the bottles and the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals.
These ones are labeled highly toxic.
Ugh, that's worrying, because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there.
Oh my gosh, Rinosuke, please. Oh yes, they actually say salt and pepper on them. Oh, fair enough. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room. Perhaps she has meals in here.
Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death.
Listen, it was just upsetting. Listen, people die. It's okay. Like, Runosuke, don't stress out about it.
I didn't mean to click there. There.
That looks like an owl and a crow up there.
I know, and they haven't even twitched since you came in here.
Well, no, they wouldn't have. The taxidermy mounts Naruhodo.
Ugh, I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open.
Yes, I think perhaps you're wise to put something like your Teruma doll in the office instead.
Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to high sheen and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Custard cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they?
Do you have nothing to say about the skeleton inside, Mr. Naruhodo?
Mrs. Adder, can't you tell that I'm trying very hard to avoid talking about the terrifying contents of the case? It's how I cope.
I'll be sure to remember that from now on.
Considering he copes by trying to, like, avoid topics, he's really, really bad with Venzeeks.
Yeah, you would think, right? I suppose this is Dr. Sykes' desk.
Look, I would not like to work in a place like this.
It's very tidy, though, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? I imagine how efficiently.
The lighting is poor, which is bad for the eyes, and the chemical smell can be good for you. Not to mention the skeleton watching over you as you work, which is definitely bad for the nerves.
Well, yes, those are valid concerns, I suppose.
I can just about cope with a one-eyed Daruma doll watching over me, but that's all. Look at this big, thick book here.
It appears to be an account ledger. Records. It's a record of the forensic investigation team pending, I think. Oh,
What is it?
it's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... Well, one entry seems rather strange.
Really? In what way?
They're buying 500 scalpels every month. Jeez.
500? They must be working really hard on dissecting corpses.
I don't know. Judicial autopsies are only carried out in certain special circumstances. And scalpel blades can be sharpened, too.
It does seem a bit strange. You're right. 500 scalpels a month. What could they possibly be using all them for? Okay, this is definitely you.
What are you doing?
Ah! Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here, so...
So you thought you'd snoop around? That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want?
Lord Strongheart told us, you see, that it was you who examined the victim's body. Mr. Asmund's body, I mean.
So we can't ask you about your finding. But on Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. When you're done, you must leave immediately.
Did I miss anything else? No, I don't think so. Okay. Scythe?
So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined for examination of the scene? The victim, Mr. Odie Asmund, who disappeared from the experimentation stage of Mystic Explosion. And Mr. Asmund, who appeared moments later, part away at Crystal Tower. Were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion.
But that can't be right.
If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see, if two people who looked very similar to each other are involved, they could have made it appear as if one person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true, but sadly in this instance, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared, same person. The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident.
Ah, fingerprints.
They are not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system. But one day they will be used as an investigative aid as a matter of course. Oh my, but that would mean that instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So, where does that leave us? My team is tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions.
Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. This hasn't cleared anything up at all. It's made the whole thing even more of a mystery.
Ooh.
You can read her too.
Is this a girl?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a different person altogether. I thought she just put a mask on.
Oh, this is a different person.
Mama? What is this?
Ugh, where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama?
This is a lawyer, dear.
Hello. To meet you. But pleased to meet you. Yes, I'm a defense lawyer. Rinosuke no...
Mama,
Yes.
can I cut this one up?
What?
Oh, a butcher cleaver. Is me covering my mouth
We can hear
helping
you.
or hindering?
It's fine.
Okay. Does it sound like I'm covering my mouth?
It sounds like you're covered.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. She's wearing
Yeah.
a mask, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like.
Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see.
Covered ellipse. Huh. Boring.
I think I just had a near-death experience.
Oh dear, Miss Naruhodo. You're as pale as a corpse.
Let's leave before I'm mistaken for one. Scooby-Doo running away effect. Well, I think we've managed all the investigating we can here for now. If we could just determine the whereabouts of Mr. Drebber.
I'm sure Gina and Linda Toby won't let us down. Do you know that, now then, do you think we ought to try to speak with Mr. Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss, and I'm dying to meet him after all these months.
Did someone say dying?
Yes, it's quite possible he might know something useful, you're right. We had to find out Madden to spells. He's supposed to be working there as a temporary waxwork exhibit.
Oh, yes, Iris told me all about his latest unusual venture.
So where?
Back to Madame Two Spells, I guess?
I don't believe we've visited this place for some time. Madame Tuspel's Museum of Waxworks.
Here we are again at the House of Horrors. I'm afraid I haven't gotten used to the place yet. Do you think they had to pay twice?
What?
Do you think they had to pay their entry fee twice?
Oh, I don't know if maybe it's an all-day entry.
Yeah, maybe. I'd still like to turn on my heels and go straight home. Via the confectionery, of course.
Sada-san really is after something sweet today, isn't she?
Ah!
What's the matter?
Look, Miss Naruhodo! Look at the waxwork! I'm quite sure it wasn't there before. It looks exactly like Mr. Sholmes, down to the very last detail.
Aha!
What is it?
Oh, sorry. I think you'll find that's the temporary waxwork himself.
Ah, the friend of my dedicated employee.
Oh yes, hello again. It's Rinosuke. Rinosuke no Hado.
I must say, I'm quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. My precious waxwork is already back where it belongs.
You don't mean...
But yes, the mystery is solved already.
Wow, Mr. Sholmes can really engage his brain when he's hungry enough.
So as you can see, he has returned to his habitual duty.
Yes.
His habitual duties? Hello? Do not disturb, huh?
Suzette-san. She looks very perplexed.
Hello? How do you say perplexed?
Perplexed?
Oh, I'm quite sure that is not how you say that. I really do need to speak with Mr. Sholmes. I'm quite longing to say hello again. But where is he? Where?
I think you might find that he's quite nearby, actually.
Oh, what do you...
Indeed, my dear fellows, it is I. Hoo-ha! The world-famous detective in waxwork, Sherlock Holmes.
Suzette-san! Suzette-san!
Bap, 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 bap. It's game over.
Well, a body has been discovered.
Oh no.
My humble apologies.
I thought I died and gone to the eternal paradise for a moment. Via London.
My dear madam, allow me to make amends by offering you a tasty free deduction at some point.
As long as it's not of questionable street food quality.
What does that even mean? I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork here, Mr. Show?
Merely a secret identity, you understand. Though the case is largely solved now.
Largely solved?
We're talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume?
Indeed you are, my good fellow. As I predicted, it was as easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess, I have yet to partake of a pie, proverbial or otherwise, or any food so far today for that matter.
I thought that was you.
The stomach rumble echoed around the whole museum. So how did you manage to solve it so quickly?
Ah, well, you do remember I said it was largely solved. Anyways, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone?
Oh, I guess telephones were invented.
Ah!
Oh, yes, it's the most modern invention.
There's proverbial
you
pie
know-
on your face.
I guess so. Proverbial and metaphorical. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected as yet.
This morning, a telephone call was received here from the perpetrator of the abduction. As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned.
That's amazing.
Just between you and I, it would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork in any event.
And he's taking credit.
Oh, but I thought whoever was responsible had demanded a ransom, no?
Yes, I think perhaps the ransom demand was necessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive.
But that does not mean the negotiating was entirely unnecessary?
In fact, I must ask you to keep your mouth to spells at all costs. A hungry young Iris awaits my return to Baker Street after all.
Poor Iris.
Iris has spending money. She literally went to an herb market to buy herbs.
I think she spends all her money, though. I don't think she saves money. 'Cause she's 10.
But I don't think she's hungry.
So then, do I sense that you have some business with this great waxwork? Bap, 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 bap.
We're in the process of trying to track somebody down.
Oh,
Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. He's the swindler who duped Professor Harebrain and the engineer who built the kinesis machine.
a swindler and an engineer, quite a modern man.
He also seems to be a conjurer of sorts, too, with considerable knowledge of stage magic. We need to locate him before the trial resumes tomorrow morning. But we have so few clues to go on, that's the trouble. Do you have any good ideas?
No data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas, but data. If I knew something of the man's appearance, at least, I may be in better position to help.
Yes, Trevor's appearance.
Fortunately for you, however, presently I have to occupy myself. Presently, I have little to occupy myself and little to fill my stomach. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I should gladly give you my thoughts on it.
Mr. Sholmes, did you lie to us?
On what event? I lie to you very often. Dear Mr. Naruto, stay that piercing glare. What is this about?
Last winter, when we were first on our way back to Britain aboard the steamship. Your words were very clear.
So then, let's unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder.
You told us that it was murder. You examined Kazuma-sama's body.
Indeed, and wherein lies the problem?
We met him earlier today. The victim, Kazuma Asogi.
You're quite sure?
He's wearing some sort of mask and was apparently suffering from amnesia. But yes, I'm quite sure it was Kazuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Mr. Sholmes, that he wasn't actually dead.
Well, I can only assume I was swept up in the murderous atmosphere of the moment. But the fellow wasn't it at all. Priceless. I don't suppose that performance would pass muster, would it, Mr. Naruto?
I could believe the crewmen present at the time could make a mistake. But not you, Mr. Sholmes.
I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that.
Please, Mr. Sholmes.
Tomorrow in court, you'll find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that's all I can.
Okay.
And with that,
Oh, we're gonna finish this area.
Yeah, let's present some evidence. I don't know what you thought I was going to say, but you were wrong.
Okay, what are we presenting?
The photo
Which photo? We have multiple photos.
of Enoch Drebber.
This photo.
Yeah. Photo of Drebber.
Look at that monocle.
Taking of Drebber with the monocle.
Look at that monocle.
Oh my gosh, that's a big eye.
Look at that
Plus sign.
gimpy
a lot of characters,
cross. Oh, it's plus sign.
A lot of characters have like a cross in their lapels in this game. It's like they might be all related. It's all just one big family.
Mr. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print? Which is a fancy way of saying, take a look at this photograph.
Would you mind casting your eyes at this photographic print? Every time I see it, it makes me grin.
Grint.
Yeah, you have to put the T at the end. It's of Mr. Enoch Drebber. The face of the engineer we seek.
Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course. So looking at the photograph won't be particularly instructive.
Are you alright, Mr. Sholmes?
Ah, yes, forgive me. Very interesting, this. Very interesting indeed.
What's wrong, Mr. Sholmes? You've turned quite pale.
I have a suggestion, Mr. Naruto.
Oh, you missed part of the line.
Will you indulge me?
Oh, well, what is it?
As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned, and I personally reinstated it in the exhibit from which it was taken, behind those thick curtains.
Oh yes, the Professor exhibit, isn't it?
Would you like to see it for a mere 5 shillings? That's a special one-time only price, you understand.
What?
The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Wouldn't you like to see the fruits of my labor?
Oh, well, we do have a rather pressing investigation to carry out. Perhaps we could postpone?
Price is a very reasonable 5 shillings. I think you'll find it well worth it.
Are you being quite serious, Mr. Sholmes?
Surely you need only look at my expression to ascertain if this is serious or silly. Seriousness or silliness.
I can never tell with you, that's the point.
Very well, it couldn't hurt. Here's your 5 shillings.
Carefully received, gratefully received. So the special exhibit awaits behind the curtains. I invite you to peruse it at your leisure.
Well, the money's been spent, so let's go and see that special exhibit.
Through these heavy curtains at last. Should we do the...
We could do it. Yeah, I don't mind. I'm not doing anything.
Okay, and then after
Your
that,
call.
since it's kind of part of the same room.
Yeah. Are we close to the end of day, or do we still have a little bit more?
No,
Oh, we're not. You did say that these days got longer and longer towards the end, too.
5 shillings we've had to pay. Like, we'll probably finish this day, or the investigation day next time, but, like, we probably still at least have an hour. Doesn't seem right somehow that Mr. Sholmes slipped the money into his own pocket, does he? Does it? Does it, Susato?
No. Ah! It asked Gina to retrieve it for us using her special skills.
Pickpocketing police officers and diddling detectives. Is this what makes
Can
Britain
we not
great?
use that word? Can we not use that word?
Is this what makes Britain great?
Make Britain great again. Diddle everyone.
Not to mention demigod prosecutors taking the law into their own hands or chip-loving inspectors.
Inspector Gretson comes off rather well in that list, I think. Whoa! Spooky, spooky. Oh dear, I felt a shiver down my spine as soon as we walked in here.
Mr. Zato, so we turn on our heels and go straight home via a really big confectionery.
We certainly can't do that. We've paid 5 shillings already.
True. Actually, now I'm looking a little more closely. We paid good money to see an exhibit that's clearly incomplete. The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place. How many more times do I have to say that?
I know, right? This must be what Mr. Sholmes meant when he said the case was largely solved.
Be that as it may, Mr. Sholmes heavily implied there'd be a clue about the engineer in here, didn't he? But where? So we've paid 5 shillings. Let's do 5 shillings worth of investigation, shall we?
Yes, we will get what we pay for.
It's that fear of frustration that's making Susato-san's voice tremble. I can't look at the owl. Okay.
This must be the killer, the fiend known as the Professor.
Yes, I think so. According to what Madame Tuspel said, he killed 5 victims, all of noble or royal blood.
The wax was so lifelike, isn't it? Like all the models in this place.
I know, it looks like it could start moving at any moment, doesn't it? If only it had a head, that is. If I only had a head.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.
Perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. So this is the condemned man.
It's still something eerie about seeing a decapitated model.
About the throat hole?
Yeah.
He is so-called professor.
Then perhaps its head was chopped off by a guillotine. But unable to find peace, he emerged from his grave as a headless ghost.
Do we have to entertain such terrifying ideas, Mr. Zada? Anyway, I'm sure the model had one once. There's a metal fitting for it, see?
Then perhaps Mr. Sholmes absentmindedly forgot to reattach it?
That's an extremely absent-minded detective you're describing, isn't it?
Or perhaps the thief absentmindedly forgot to include the head when he returned it to the museum.
That would be an extremely absent-minded thief. Could there have been some reason why only the head wasn't returned? Well, whatever the reason, it means we don't know the face of the infamous professor looked like, do we? Oh. There's something caught just inside the convict's jacket there. It looks like a piece of broken glass, and quite a big piece, too.
It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 times thicker than a number window glazing, I'd say.
Where could such a thick piece of glass have come from, I wonder?
I suppose it must have been made thick to increase its strength.
But why?
Well, perhaps the glass had to span a particularly wide area, such as a big building, for example.
Ah. Well, we've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some of the glass is broken too.
I'm happy that they got to that point pretty quickly, because I was gonna be like, really? Is this what we're coming to? Oh, I wonder if there's this glass building, this big glass building. I've no idea. You don't mean?
Exactly. The Crystal Tower at the Great Exhibition.
But why would glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged inside this waxworks jacket?
Makes you think, doesn't it?
Makes you think, doesn't it? Has the same kind of chaotic energy as that philosophy essay you said to me. Well, he's not squashing turts.
Crushing turts.
Crushing turts.
Squashing turts doesn't even nearly sound as visceral.
Yeah, crushing turts all day. Is he just a 1%er? Perchance.
Earlier in court, we just established that the kinesis experiment was a trick. And now we discover this fragment of glass here in this waxwork. Is it just a coincidence?
Perchance.
You can't just say perchance. This part of the exhibit is just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real. Seems to be a young man in a white overcoat. And he has... Oh, no.
And he has a large spade in his hand too. Look.
Perhaps you should investigate in a little more detail.
Did you didn't? Did you get it?
Yeah, the spade.
Yeah. This is the first time that we... What a large shovel. He's holding it rather ominously, isn't he? What on earth was the man doing with a shovel in the graveyard in the middle of the night?
Mr. Zada.
Please. Yes?
That's a spade, isn't it?
No, it's a shovel.
No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade.
Oh, we've been through this, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a shovel.
No, no, no. Although, we haven't considered Trowels.
No! I rebuke it. We've allowed ourselves to be distracted, I feel. Perhaps we should concentrate on what the man was doing with the implement.
So we're going to bury the hatchet?
It's a shovel!
You're right then. What's the man doing in the graveyard in the first place? That's the real question. When I first played this with Nero in the room, and we got to this part, and they started doing the shovel thing again, we brought up suddenly, like, what about spades, though? What are spades? And then they said spades, and you're like, really?
Trowels?
Or trowels, yeah, trowels. You're like, what about trowels?
Are you avoiding the face for any particular reason?
No, not really. I'm just trying to click stuff still.
Oh, dramatic.
But it's kind of convenient that I am.
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
I'm not trying to.
No, it's very artistic of it.
It's quite a large lamp the man's carrying.
It's
Or is
quite
it a
large-
lantern? It's not like a
Oh,
Japanese
no.
church and paper lantern, actually, is it?
Can we not? Lamp, lantern, chochin. The point is, it casts very little light. To be walking alone in a graveyard at night with only this, I certainly couldn't do it.
Not sure I could visit a graveyard at all, even in broad daylight, to be honest.
I feel like Ryunosuke just likes to have pedantic arguments.
Yeah, he tried to set that one up.
Yeah.
He was just like, it's a lamp, or is it a lantern? Or
Yeah,
it could be
he's
and it's just like,
She's
they're all
not
the
even
same thing.
waiting.
They don't matter.
Yeah. He's like, oh.
What's this here?
Is it a camera? A photographic print machine? A still taker? Well, it would appear to be a lens in the middle, so...
I believe it's oh, well,
I believe it's probably a camera.
a camera, but it's so small. British technology is incredible, isn't it? I mean, what about Mr. Sholm's skin prints?
Didn't Mini Memo have a camera the same size?
I think his was bigger.
I don't think so. If anything, I think Mini Memo's was smaller.
He didn't see Many Memo.
Fair. I think perhaps you should treat Mr. Shom's inventions as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in the graveyard at night with a camera?
I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost on film.
That's a different video game franchise. We'll just borrow this for a little while, I think. We'll just steal...
Who makes Fatal Frame?
I don't know.
It's not
actually.
Capcom, is it?
It might be. It's the same people that make the Atelier games, because
Oh, that's
there's
not
Atelier
Capcom.
DLC. By looking at the photographic plate inside
Wait.
the camera, we can see what picture was taken.
Shady, you think it is Capcom? Or Sega? It might be Sega. What's a photographic plate?
It's a piece of glass coated in special emulsions that react to the light coming through the lens. Why would a wax figure have a camera with a photo in it? Why? If we
Okay.
open the cover at the back of the camera, we should be able to find it. Let's have a look.
You should see yourself to that sign. Your eyes are shining. You really do like machinery, don't you?
Why would a prop camera...
Oh, it can't even... It can only kind of look at the face. Wait. I thought they were gonna look at the camera. Did we get it as evidence?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, stop talking. Stop talking! Oh, we can't look at evidence right now, though. It's as much as it'll let me tilt down. I can't see his face very well, can you?
I mean, if we were just lying on the floor looking up at the white figure, we might be able to.
Perhaps if I just...
But perhaps if you stand up, Mr. Ryunosuke. And Ryunosuke's like, no. I prefer to do my investigation laying down. Oh, do you think you should be manhandling the exhibits, Mr. Naruhodo? Don't
Okay.
ask about the camera that we pilfered and not
back
have
in-
it in our... Go ahead.
next to the giant bird cage. I put it back exactly as it was, don't worry.
Whoa. Spooky, spooky.
Ah,
What on earth? How can?
I don't believe it. A black monocle.
Only one person has a black monocle. Mr. Naruto, is it possible that this man is...
Yes. It's Inakdraba.
Why?
The color of his hair is different, but it's unmistakably him.
That's not how any of this works.
This is you.
Is it a woman? Is it a
I'm
man?
not sure. I 100% know it's you. I'm just not sure which character.
Indeed it is.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was him or Spell. Mr. Shums.
This man is the subject of your present hunt, I believe.
Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? Why is he here in this exhibit? And why does the convict behind him have no head?
The head was missing when the model was returned by the thief who stole it.
What a surprise. So then the case isn't yet solved, is it?
Did I not say so myself? Largely solved with my words, I believe. But I must locate the missing head to the suite. As Madame would say, or I'll be in grave trouble. A very hungry Iris still awaits my return to Baker Street, preferably with ration.
Ugh.
Did you know, though, something about this room is strange?
Strange. What do you mean?
Well, the displays in the House of Horror are supposed to depict real events, are they not?
Indeed they are, Mrs. Atto. Do go on.
And as terrifying as they are, the scenes of the other exhibits are believable. But this one... This surely could ever really have happened. Could it?
It's time. I think it's time I educated you a little. But the nature of the incidents involving the professor 10 years ago.
Should we do that?
No, it's
Okay.
up to you. I'm not doing anything.
I know, I just...
We can take a break.
Well, we could finish this as long as you're not too bothered. I feel like we made less progress than I expected, so...
I believe I told you a little about the professor yesterday, did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims, every one of them either a member of the aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound, had their throats ripped from their bodies.
Oh gosh, an enormous hound. Oh, awful.
After taking the life of the 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you understand, accordingly. The professor was tried in a closed court. No members of the public were permitted.
A closed court? Does it mean that the professor's identity...
As you surmise, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. Naturally, he was found guilty and summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried at the grave in lowly Gemp Cemetery, which adjoins the rear of the prison where he held. However, that was not the end of the affair.
Oh,
The very night he was buried, the convicted man came back to life.
Came back to life?
came back to life.
He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts the very scene, as described by the sole witness to those chilling events.
There was a witness.
But of course, my dear fellows, it was none other than the young man in the white overcoat.
Enoch Drebber. He saw it happen. So this is a waxwork model of Enoch Drebber. Oops. I didn't mean today.
10 years ago, the convicted professor, having been gibbeted and buried, emerged from his grave at the dead of night. The sole witness to that unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances, I would say he was about 20 years old.
It's so horrifying.
Scared out of his wits, the young Drebber ran to a nearby police station to report the incident. And the sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight.
Yes, as shown in the photograph we have of him. His hair is completely white.
In the following few days, the history of the scene was on every front page of the Capitol. The public was frantic for every last detail about the killer to life. As you've seen, the exhibit was even created here, Madame Tuspel.
I can quite understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly. But what I don't understand is what Mr. Drebber was doing in the first place. In a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night.
Yes, what was he up to?
The professor acts of terror through London's upper classes in complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, one might say, at the very highest levels of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumors abounded. After all, no killer had ever been systematically employed dog as a weapon of murder.
Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had.
But in time, of course, rumors abated. So, too, did talk of the shocking witness account of the convict who came back to life. It was forgotten, dismissed as a dubious ghost story, a preposterous parlor tale.
But why did people stop believing it?
Why? Simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as was established in fact.
What do you mean by no resurrection?
The police investigated the grave at Lower Lake Cemetery and published the finding. The victim's body was found to be buried exactly where it had been. Execution.
No! But that would be Mr. Drebber. Must have lied to the police and the newspaper.
That would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society and nothing heard from him since. It's rather striking, then, that he should resurface now, don't you think?
Of course, the convicted murderer couldn't really have come back to life. That's not possible. But Drebber's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, I don't think that can happen. It's hard to believe the incident was out-and-out lie. That's really shaky logic.
Yeah.
What the bleeding Norado? What have you gone and done?
Gina, what are you doing here?
I asked Iris, and she said this is what you'd be, so... Gina, that's allowed in a museum.
But have to spell will have you take a position as a whack work if you're not careful.
I think there might be a more pressing concern.
I still had some flash powder in it left from 6 months ago, so... All right, Gina, we understand. But please, put down the gun. Sorry, I got scared.
You should try being the one on the other end of the barrel. So what brings you here, Gina?
What brings me here? What'd you think? We found it. We found the Dodgy Cove's workshop.
What? You found Drebber's workshop?
Yep, Toby's nose took me straight there. The boss and the others are heading over there now in a drag, so come on. Here's the address. I got the boss to write it down. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Oh, thank you, Gina. We'll make our way there once. All right then, see you there. You go. Don't mind me. I'll just stay here, being still.
What?
I know my place. The exhibit over there.
Oh dear. Someone's feeling sorry for himself.
Let's go, Mr. Sholmes. You're coming.
Your words hearten me, I must say. But if I were to shirk my duties here, Madame would have me pay monetary recompense at Irish dinner plate.
Forget that. I'll pay for everything.
I don't know what. I don't. There's not much to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail carriage at once.
No offer to share the cost from Mr. Sholmes, then?
I shall gladly pay half, Miss Naruhodo.
Thank you, Mrs. Addo. Right, let's go. Don't they share the same stipend?
They probably.
Okay, we will save here.
They probably like genuinely share the stipend, though. It's not like like they split it and then they have it. You know what I mean?
I guess.
Opposed to like, oh, this is our shared funds. Like, I feel like they would be like, okay, this is my half, and then this is your half.
I feel like the way that she got so worked up over him spending random stuff in that side episode.
Yeah,
I felt like they were sharing money.
They might not. That might not be canon.
I mean, I don't think it is canon, but still, it's based on canon stuff.